Welcome to The Hinge with Noel and Jake, a spiritual meander on the mystery of being human.
Morning, listeners. Morning, Jake.
Good morning, Noel.
Of course, beauty hunted me. It hunts everyone. There is no escaping the magic now. Beauty caught me and never let me go.
Can we have that one more time, please?
Of course, beauty hunted me. It hunts everyone. There is no escaping the magic now. Beauty caught me and never let me go.
I have to sigh and I feel tearful. I don't know why, but perhaps you can tell us more.
Yeah, I am. That's taken from a poet. They were called they passed away last year, Andrea Gibson. And it's an acceptance speech. The name of the poem is An Acceptance Speech After Setting the World Record in Goosebumps. And I first came across Andrea's poetry about 18 months ago. When I was I like many of us, I think listeners will appreciate this. You're engaged and you read something and you come across something else. And I came across something she had written, which was about one of her poems. I think it was called something like The Body, something sings the body electric, something like that. And the line of the poem was, I said to the sun, tell me about the Big Bang. The sun said, it hurts to become. And I thought, wow. It just hit me like full frontal. I thought, who is this person? And so I said, God bless Google. And, I started, and I was, all right, it's Andrea Gibson. And it's not like I went off and I read a lot of their poetry. I was more curious and I was more alert. And then I'd seen that she was terminally ill. I keep saying she when actually their pronoun was they, so apologies. And they had spoken a little bit about this, and they had done a documentary called Come and See Me in the Light. And so it was through that I came across these lines from that poem, the acceptance speech after setting the world record in Goosebumps. So their wife, Megan, said, I challenge you to write a poem about accepting, and then your acceptance speech after setting the world record in Goosebumps. And the first part of it is just, for me, it's extraordinary. I sent it to you during the week, and, this part, and, where they were saying, I wasn't a natural by any means. Not one of those jaw-dropped born hounds. I was tough in the husk, untouched by rain. I mean, and when she talks about the beauty, and I was kind of thinking about this, so like, they were the poet laureate of Colorado, and like beauty, how beauty hunts us.
Mm.
Wow. Like that idea that we're hunted by beauty.
Mm. Inescapable.
Inescapable. We think we're the ones doing the hunting.
I
think we're a little bit too Neanderthal.
Yeah.
I'm the one's being hunted.
Yeah.
And beauty stalks me and catches me unawares.
Mm.
Yeah. So when we were talking during the week, and as is our way, we're back and forth, just talking about different things. And started off with one thing. We were talking about beauty. And I really believe, I don't know what you think about listeners, but I know for me as a younger man, I had no sense of anything that was beautiful about me. None. Which is, thankfully, that's not how it is now. And I think many of us know that experience. I think we are the beauty we seek. I really believe that, and more and more. And I think we open our eyes more and more to the thing. We are the thing we seek. It's not outside us, but I think the mirror is outside us, of beauty.
Of recognition, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are struck by it, hunted down, struck by it, which incidentally, we would also ask you, the listener, to tell us, can you think of a time when you were struck by beauty? But we are struck by it. And it, for me, is closely related to understanding what God is all about. God chooses for you. Beauty is an apparition of God. You don't decide, I think this is a beautiful flower and that isn't one. It's the one that actually punches you in the face and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's a bit much. Right?
That's
I don't even like blue, but I love this blue flower, right?
Yeah.
So it comes unawares, and we don't choose it. We can look for it, but very often we're so intense looking forward that actually we look to the right side of the road, and it turned out to be in the middle of the motorway, where you think, well, there can't be anything pretty there, but there on the tarmac, in the crack, there's a little flower, but you didn't see it because you were forcing it, and you thought it was going to be on the side of the road, and it wasn't. Yeah. Right. So, and that way, God just makes fun of us because He loves us.
I think about what you were saying about Jake. Like it smacks us. It just hits you. I think that's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And your question to the listeners, what you're saying is, can you think of your, like where you were caught by beauty? I wonder for you, do you think, like, has there been a time in your life, and I'm sure there has, where like beauty, it's tripped you up?
Yeah. It many times, and a couple of times with girls. In a small way, perhaps a lot with beautiful women, beautiful men, beautiful people, beautiful babies, beautiful flowers, many beautiful things. But of course, in relationship, as a teenager, meeting a girl, thinking, wow, if she could only be my girlfriend one day. And one of them became my girlfriend after rejecting me for 3 years, right? Or I can even remember going to the United Kingdom for the first time at the age of 15 with friends from France, French friends, and my parents. We went on a holiday to Surrey to stay on a campsite. We make some trips into London, see a little bit of the southeast of England. And we were on the boat, and there was a group of school children, my age, maybe a year older, and they were all really gung-ho, and they were dancing on the dance floor. And there was one girl dancing. She was so beautiful. I was in love. And I got my camera out, and I did something that I felt was pretty illicit. I took a picture of her. And the memory is suddenly coming to me, but I still have that photograph. Must be somewhere in my boxes of paperwork. But it was irresistible, right? And I still regret not having had the courage, because I thought I should just go up to her and say, here's my telephone number, here's my address. Can I write to you, right? But I didn't. Yeah. And
yet the spontaneity of the, how the memory arises when we're just talking about beauty. And like, as you say, the regret maybe that you didn't go up to her, but that actually you saw beauty.
Yeah.
And that the beauty she is, that comes from just simply being here these many years later, that her beauty lives as a prayer
in me. Yeah.
In you. Wow.
And I think this is sort of this first step of recognizing a soulmate.
Mm.
And I don't think there's one person for each of us on the planet, because it's also a developmental path, a relationship. But recognizing a spark of something is seeing a piece of yourself in the other.
Mm.
And that's the attraction. Right? There is something that is captivating. And I can remember not being able to walk away from the dance floor. And I probably stood there with my mouth open. And at some point realized, be careful, because maybe all the 10 guys dancing around are going to notice who's the wimp in the corner staring at her. I don't know. But I got my camera out and I furtively, of the entire group, of course, but I zoomed in a little bit more than they probably knew to take that picture.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think, that like that stage we talk about, the teenage years, and I was saying, so I was listening to Jake, about, I was lucky enough at one stage to work with people who were young teenagers, and even still, I work with young adults, like people who are 20. So, and one of the things that I love about sitting with these individuals is they're so beautiful, and beyond the aesthetic, which of course, objectively, subjectively, we can recognize when people are, what is the standard of beauty? Like we know that, like that sometimes, I imagine, I say this as a man, but the metric by which we measure beauty, and what we're sold, but beauty is unmistakable. It catches us, so it's like, I got to take a camera, I got to take a photo, or I got to write a poem. Like I because there's something, but the moment you try and own it, and yet it lives, it breathes. And I'm thinking about it, I was kind of saying, oh, well, I didn't think there was anything about it was beautiful. And actually, that's not true. One of the things, and friends of mine would know this, and people who've loved me, and and have regretted loving me, and still love me, and I love them, and where my hands, I always felt, for whatever reason, that I had very beautiful hands, and I can feel that now inside me. It's like listening to it, said, let me get a look at this man's hands. And I notice even in the moment, like where in the intimacy of sharing, that I've often felt like I have very beautiful hands. Because sharing something about ourselves, oh, I better lighten that. But I've often felt that my hands became a gateway, a hinge into the rest of the beauty that lived inside. And that's still unknown to me. And that's unknown to us all. I guess in your life where, and for listeners, where we're still discovering, yes, I'm broken and I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah.
Who was leagues ahead of us already was, of course, George in Seinfeld. Because he was a hand model. Because he knew he had beautiful hands, and you could have made a living with that.
Could have made a living. I could have been the hand of Nivea.
You still can, because you still have beautiful hands. So in case Nivea people are listening, we're available. We'll send over Noel with his hands, or send his hands over with Noel attached, and we'll make some amazing photography.
Yeah. I feel like you're just using me for my hands. I feel you just love me for my hands.
Probably. But sales will go up, and in the end, that's all they care about. I mean, I've got to be careful. I don't want to fall into that trap of just loving you for your hands, Noel. But
and like that for all of us. Like sometimes you will say to people, I might say to people, say, I really hate myself. To hear somebody's like say, is there one thing about you, one thing about yourself that in your quiet moments that you kind of go, so, they might say, well, think I have a nice smile.
Mm.
And in that moment, you know that because beauty, there's a certain shyness, isn't there, about ourselves? You know that if you come on too strong, it's a bit like meeting a beautiful man or woman, or, that sort of, maybe the invitation is, what might it be like to look in a mirror at your eyes and to start there and just allow your focus there, not to force it, but and see can it extend beyond your eyes. Because I think we hold these ideas about ourselves, don't we? That we're not beautiful.
Yes.
That this aesthetic, we're saturated with these images. This is beauty. No. And I'm thinking about that phrase, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yes. Yes, and it dwells somewhere in all of us. I can remember a TED talk with a famous model. And she said, I'm just an innocent girl who is insecure about herself, and then you put a lot of makeup on me and I seem to have the right bone structure. And you think I'm this happy person who wakes up every morning. She said, my hair looks terrible. I look wrinkled and I think I'm not very beautiful. Mm. But I got spotted and it changed the world. But I mean, it's inside, nothing's changed. Mm. Which I thought was a very encouraging message also from somebody to say, hey guys, I'm in the business of fooling people that there are very few beautiful people in the world, but let me tell you, it's not true. It's an inside experience of maturity that allows us to grow towards loving us, not only for who we are on the inside, but actually also the aspects of us that we can see. There is always something to appreciate.
I love the way that you've reflected, the inside experience. And as I was listening to you share about that model, as I was thinking about how beauty is on the inside, and that sometimes in our lives I might hide what is most beautiful, what is most precious. And because we haven't had the encouragement, or we haven't had the mirror, and so we come across this poem, where it's, oh wow, God, they're a great poet, in which they are, and that beauty isn't just in the poem or in that person. It's in all of us. It's an inside-outside job.
Mm. And it's also an act of union, right? Because judging something to be ugly about yourself is an act of separation from yourself. Mm. And I notice it with other people. When I don't know them, they may not be that attractive, or I may not find some even not attractive. But as I get to know them, the appreciation of all of them, all that is about them improves. Right. Mm. So it's a very subjective thing that you have to allow to morph. Also about yourself, getting to know yourself better, and also learning to take I think for me, the process as a teenager was learning to take a compliment. When somebody said something positive and you'd say, oh, no, that was nothing. And at a certain point, someone said, please stop that. Mm-hmm. I gave you a compliment because that's my opinion. And all you have to do is say, thank you. Mm-hmm. And it was a first breaking open of a new awareness. Because when you say thank you, it actually feels a lot better than trying to deny it. Yeah. And it's an act of separation. And I've learned a lot from that. So when people now say, well, you're wearing a great shirt or your hair looks good, you go like, thank you. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. It's free. It was a free compliment. Take it.
Yeah, to be able to receive, and I suppose we think and talk a lot, don't we, about giving and receiving, but I receive the beauty that I am. Which part of the beauty is this life that's happening all the time? Just simply by being.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm being beautiful. God, he's a little bit egotistical. Is there anything as extraordinary as somebody or something simply being? And I was thinking as I was, just as reflecting as we were listening, one evening I was waiting for to go into therapy because I was trying to work through a couple of knots. And it's a beautiful thing to do. Like rather than going to therapy because you have problems or, because there were some things that needed ironing out, some things that were wrinkled. There was something in me had become contorted. And this place I used to go in Dublin, big shout out to May, actually was the lady that I sat with, who was a very beautiful human being. And there was where she lived, there was this row of old cottages. And I was waiting, and there was this, the cottages had these old bricks. And as I was waiting and the light was changing, I was looking at the brick that were in the cottage, one of the cottages that was just by the car. And it was one of the most beautiful things in the whole world I'd ever seen. It just touched me. Simply being a brick. And I thought about that memory earlier on during the week when we were talking, and just in this moment where you, like, everything that is, in many ways, is beautiful.
Yeah.
The log, the microphone.
Gentlemen, what about a short break?
Good idea. Let's take a break and see you in a moment, listeners.
Welcome back to The Hinge.
Welcome back, listeners.
Of course, beauty hunted me. It hunts everyone. There is no escaping the magic now. Beauty caught me and never let me go.
Thanks. I mean, in the preparation, it was very powerful when we talked about this, and then at some point you asked me, "Do you have a memory?" And I shared a poem with you about first meeting my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And to keep this as a future teaser, I'm not going to share this with you here. Because when you reread it this morning, there was actually something else came to me that I wrote a couple of months ago that I'd like to share with you here and now.
Great.
It's called Tears. I am watching a movie. I press pause. As I get up, my eyes meet the vase of yellow flowers before me. Yellow was a bad choice of color. I usually buy white, roses or lilies. One bud stands out. 2 petals, delicate and still, have started to open. Their quiet beauty thumps me in the heart of my soul. I fall back into my chair and I cry. And it was really written quite quickly after that experience of seeing a rose petal moving up from my chair, leaning into, almost with my face into those flowers of a color that's not really my preferred color. I'd actually, dismissively thought, well, why did I buy yellow? I mean, try something different. Stupid. You like white, buy a hard pink.
Yeah.
And then the delicate shape of those 2 petals in a bud, so beautiful that it wasn't my choice to dislike or dismiss it for something that I didn't like about it. The shape, and maybe also the proximity, where they're like unexpectedly moving towards this unique shape. There will never be 2 petals alike ever again, right? is a response to what you were saying about we don't choose it. It hits us in the face. And God is waiting everywhere. Most of the time I don't see it, but sometimes I'm given the awareness or the opportunity. It's a divine occurrence.
When you share, thank you for sharing that poem. And I remembered a couple of months ago we'd been speaking about something else, and I think you had shared that. And as I was listening to you, I was thinking about what you were saying about the delicate shape. The delicate shape. And I was thinking about your delicate shape. And I was thinking about the delicate shape of us all. That we're so delicate, and yet we're so here, like those two petals, and we didn't choose it. I didn't choose my face. I didn't choose my receding hairline. It was given freely. And I was just so with that, delicate, and those moments where I think we all know them. It's like, it's see, like that moment you lean forward and it just, something in you changes. It blows you open.
Yeah.
And
this paradox of delicacy and sheer power, right? I mean, to be sort of, be thumped back into your chair by something that's overcoming you, that makes you limp. Just two petals, not even trying, effortlessly shifting you back into your chair.
I'm just excited. We're like I feel like listeners we're creating a poem live as we're speaking. But I'm thinking about, when we start limping around the place, what happened to you? What ran over you? Beauty caught me.
Yeah.
And it made me limp.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about what is it, Dostoevsky, and you've read. I have to say, I've never read any of Dostoevsky, only what I've heard others quoted, but I think you've read a little bit, Jake, and I think he's got something around that, doesn't he? He says something about beauty.
And beauty will save the world. And I'm a great believer, and I hope that the way we make this podcast is in as beautiful as possible a way. And the beauty that we need to nurture us. It's ethics and aesthetics, they live together. Things that are good can't be ugly. I just don't think that is possible.
Like the beauty will save the world, when you shared that with me. That's so true, isn't it? That it, when it catches us, because it opens us in a particular way.
Yeah.
Because I think when we are caught in that particular way, that beauty that we are, I think about the listeners, I think about, obviously we've got to know one another, and the beautiful parts. And even as you said, Jake, earlier, the ugly part, like what I might term, it all belongs.
It's all part of it. We are all part of it. It is all part of it. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We are all of the same cosmos. So it's this cosmic experience of realizing that you and it are the same, and that it is something that you recognize that is already in you, could actually be physically true, right? Because it's made of the same stardust. There is no escaping that.
I'm thinking of a practice in this moment as I was listening to you about the cosmic, which I wholeheartedly, all of my being agrees. And I was thinking about a practice for us all, for listeners, so that that phrase that a teacher of mine says, that love is always offered, never imposed. And so here's the practice. You could sit on the seat, maybe sit where you are right now, your feet on the floor, close your eyes, Feel your body on the seat. And repeat this sentence silently in your mind with this type of pause. I am beauty. And remember, you're not trying to convince yourself. In mindfulness, everything's an invitation. Contemplative life, everything is an invitation.
I am
beauty.
Beauty.
And if it's okay to share, it just occurred to me in this moment, I don't know for you, Jake, but if it's okay to share with you in this moment, I noticed inside myself as I did that practice that just emerged out of what I feel is a beautiful meander with you. I mean, I'm just having the crack on this Friday morning, you know, and as I see the beautiful light on the corner of the room, I noticed as I said it inside me, I am. And there was a pause. And when I said the beauty, it was like it in my body, in my belly, there was this reverberation out. It's like echo. You know, and I could feel that in my body. So that we begin to embody something of our beauty. It's already there. Our head can never embody beauty. If you try to describe beauty through your head, you'll get a very narrow flat.
Yes.
You know, and the reason we say, you know, like in that practice, and Jake, you'll know this, and the reason we say that, listeners, you know, that we're not trying to convince you, because you can't convince anybody of anything. You cannot convince somebody of their beauty. You create the context in which they're able to have that encounter.
Yeah, the invitation.
The invitation.
Yeah, and that's what Anthony Storr explains about the abstraction of things is separating ourselves from nature, but being with nature and losing oneself is an empathy with ourselves also, right? So an abstraction is putting it out there with the head of a definition and a categorization of something that might surprise us in an unpleasant way, is unpredictable. But if we manage this relationship of fear of nature and love of nature, some of us have a preference, all of us have a preference, I guess, to be more with nature and say, nature, I don't want to be scared of that. No need to be scared of it. We do. If there's a hurricane, don't walk towards it. Not a good idea, right? But it's a happy marriage of those two living together, that understanding that sometimes we are overcome by nature, terrible things happen, sometimes they don't, we will recover or not. But this taking in of beauty, I think when you ask the question of what is that like, I am beauty. For me personally, it's a big thing. I really feel it, like in all of my confidence. I can say, I can take a compliment. I know I'm a good-looking guy, you know. But if I'm honest, it's actually I'm getting personally, internally, I'm getting shy about the fact of trying to acknowledge something as big as that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not as integrated as I'd like to think that it is. And that's also why I'm so appreciative of a compliment, because it is a confirmation that I clearly still need. Because you said I'm a good-looking guy, and I really believe that. Why would I care what you said? But it's still important to me.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like a signal of an unintegrated piece. And my wife always makes fun of me, and she says, "You're very handsome." And then, you know, and I don't respond to say, it's uncomfortable for you, isn't it? And I'm like, she caught me again.
She caught me again. You know that.
Maybe she's just messing with me because she knows what's going to happen. But.
You know, And I think for those of us, who've had experiences where friends or, partners, wives, husbands, whoever says in our life, something about us that, God, you're pretty beautiful, aren't you? Or God, I really love that. And to really be able to stay in it and to, because beauty, like when I was listening to you about, like your own experience of I am beauty, like that sometimes, do you ever wonder, Jake, that sometimes it's so like, and for listeners, we're that beautiful. It's like there's no way our mind can comprehend it. It's an inside job and it's beyond the ego. It's enough to bring us to tears, like those delicate petals. Mm. And so when I was listening to Andrea speak their words, it was so beautiful to me. So apologies to all my friends this week who got, Andrea Gibson into your WhatsApp inbox, because they're just beautiful. Not just their words, not just this poem. They're my little sense of them.
Let's post the YouTube link on the show notes also, because I don't really listen to everything that people send me, but I listen to that from the start to the end without getting distracted, which for me is very telling, because there's so much, but it's powerful and it's very beautiful. And also he has a great curiosity about where's this going to go. It's really good.
It's really good. And we think about beauty that has occupied philosophers and poets and psychology and, all of us human beings throughout the ages. I'm thinking about that poem from Hafiz that says, about how did the rose ever open itself and give all of its beauty to the world? It felt the encouragement of light against its being. It felt love. So when we look, we learn to look at ourselves, receive in a loving way. It's never the ego that's been inflated. The heart has been enlarged. I think in Christian terms, we'd probably say the heart has been enlarged to divine proportions. Because it's only the heart could be broad and deep enough. Hold.
Yeah, and it's also learning to behold the way God beholds. God's loving gaze. We don't have a loving gaze on the world, certainly not on ourselves. But the unkind that we are to ourselves, the worse we are to this world. Right. So start loving yourself, and then do us all a great service by doing that. Yeah. And we are very grateful.
Yeah, because it's not narcissistic, Jake. It's not like when we move away from who, like the idea of my beauty. I suppose maybe that's why it's only occurred to me in this moment. Like I think about my beauty, but I am. That there's no, like as you were saying earlier, separation. No, the same is also true. I can't, like I am the ugliness. There's all, like when I look at some of my behavior, sometimes I was pretty ugly and all, you know what I mean? That was, for all your beautiful hands, you know what I mean? They've been pretty violent at times.
These beautiful hands.
You know what I mean?
Killing machines, really.
Killing machines, yeah. Like Ned.
Make sure you use a Nivea afterwards.
Yeah. So I cleanse my hands from the blood. Yeah.
Very interesting. Also, that you use that. Well, the coincidence doesn't exist, but you use hands, right? How often hands also are washed in stories, right? To wash one's hands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And they are beautiful, beautiful instruments. I mean, so ungratefully used all the time, abused all the time, sticking them in hot tea to get the tea bag out, scratching the surface of something. And they last all this lifetime. Incredible.
And notice as you say that, Jake, my heart feels so tender now towards my hands and all our hands. And
yes.
I feel like there's another poem maybe waiting to be written about hands, about how much I've taken you for granted.
Thank you, hands.
Yeah. When you've been doing all of this work, all of this lifting. Yeah, my hands now are saying to me, yeah, about time you breathe.
Yeah, what are you going to do for me, Noel?
yeah, can't all be about you. You think it's about the rest of us. We're really running the show.
You're being a bit of a narcissist, staring at me all the time, and then, hey, what's your service? Yes, listeners, and this is not just about Noel.
This is not just about...
Not looking after them hands.
Like that, that's what we should have called the podcast, not the Hinge, the hands.
The hands, yes. And maybe we could start promoting all sorts of very expensive hand creams.
Why not?
I mean, Nivea is just a starter level, that's for the ignoramus. I mean, you smear it on your face, you put it on your fingers. Yeah, but then there's different levels, Dr. Hauschka. I mean, costs a tiny sum, but it's worth it. You're worth it. Yeah, you look at your hands and you say you're worth it.
Yeah, could say, well, what have you been moisturizing me with?
Yeah,
which is, and beyond the frivolity of what we're talking about, I think sometimes I believe more than I think. I believe oftentimes more and more deeply that when I give myself over to the beauty that I am, that lives, that is life, that I begin to care for myself in ways. And as you say, Jake, then that expression, that outpouring in the world tends to be more from that place of being loving. It's not that we're perfect. Actually, that I begin to this vessel that I live in, that I care for myself, how I dress and how within the limitations of my life and my circumstances. Like, is there anything as beautiful? Sometimes you'll be with people and, where they, their lives are narrow in some ways through financial restriction. And they'll make something so beautiful. Big shout out to my sister, actually. My sister has an extraordinary capacity to, if you go for something to eat at my sister's house, it doesn't have to be a big meal. It'll be beautiful. And you can feel it. There's just a way that they have. And it's very beautiful.
Yeah, and making something beautiful is also dignifying the occasion, right? And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, because something can be very undignified and very expensive because the love is missing. When you get a caterer in, it's very different from when you've spent the whole day in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then coming back to the early piece that you say about the relationship with oneself and loving oneself. So when I am angry at the world and I see people doing horrible, ugly things, I try to remind myself also that there's something missing in these people, that there's a hurt or an emptiness or a separation that is sublimated in ugly behavior, but it's because inside of these people something is terribly broken. Yeah. And when I look at the political world stage, I can't imagine that the people who create the ugliness are happy people. And I'm sorry about that. And I wish it was different for them. So instead of stepping into the polarization of throwing mud and telling them how ridiculous, crazy, or that they deserve to die, or whatever horrible thing I come up with, I would prefer to pray for them and send and wish them love and belonging and healing.
Yeah.
And to have some gold poured in the cracks of the beautiful vase that they are.
Yeah.
So that I can put my new pink or white flowers in them.
As I listen to that, that meander, that hinge, like that we're all connected, that there's this connection. And, as you say about, in our brokenness, what is it, the fractures in ourselves and, the beautiful vases that can be created and the kasaji or the Japanese art, and it may not be the right name. The beauty, as a teacher of mine says, that flows from brokenness. Sometimes you'll sit with people and they'll be so broken and they'll share. And in that moment, they're so beautiful. But as you say, if I as a human being struggle to own, to carry, to contain, I'll play it out. I'll play out. Hurt people. It's an absolute truth. I've hurt people in my life through being unable to own and hold my own hurt.
Yeah. So, to more love in the world, more recognition of beauty in ourselves and others as a service to the whole. Let's leave it there for the week, and let's meet again next week. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Noel.
Listeners. Thank you, Jake. And I hope there's much listeners in your week that hope that you're often caught off guard by beauty.
Me too.
Yeah. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to The Hinge, a pod show presented by Noel O'Driscoll and Jake Espen, produced by Kellett. Join us next week for another episode of The Hinge.